What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get all into the topic today, I would love for you to do a few things for me. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed to my channel. Hit the bell icon so that you get notifications for whenever I produce new content on this channel. And then when you are finished watching this video, leave me a comment so I can respond to it when I'm finished with everything. For today's topic, I want to talk about why black men have no allies or friends in the workplace. I wanted to talk about this topic because it's very important for pro-black creators who are males and having a safe space to have a discussion about some of the things that we specifically face and the challenges that we face when we're trying to basically get our money while we're trying to create things on the side. A lot of us, if I'm being honest with you, are in a 9-to-5 in the workplace, in the corporate world, not even necessarily because of the fact that we have a desire to have this career, although that may be the case for some of us. Some of us may want to do two things at once. But I think there's a lot of us who are in that 9-to-5 world or that corporate world because we know that we have to earn money in order to be able to fund a lot of the projects that we do and a lot of the work that we do. So we're just trying to find a new way to be able to make money that we can pour into the things that we're passionate about. So that means that we have to subject ourselves to being in this realm where we are dealing with a lot of different elements that aren't just based on the job itself that you're doing, but just navigating, trying to handle your coworkers and people who you work with and the things that can happen that can stop you from being able to still have a job or to just feel safe in your job. Now, I want to kind of tackle a few things there. You're not really safe in any job, first of all. So let's start there. No job is safe. There's no such thing as job security. You can lose your job at any moment for any stupid ass thing. So I just want to make that very clear that there is no such thing as job security. But there is a proper way to navigate the job that you're in while you're in it, and for you to possibly lengthen your stay at that job, you know, given that you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, and still be able to have that job without there being an element in there that doesn't need to happen. That being that some coworker who has a vendetta against you just because you're a black man ends up becoming a factor in this case. So what I mean when I say that black men have no friends or allies in the workplace is that goes for literally everybody. White people, men, women, neither one of them are your friends. Liberal people, even if they're not white, they're not your friends. Black women are not your friends in the workplace. Other black men even are not your friends. And I'm going to explain why I say all of that. When it comes to the black man, the minute you enter the workplace, everybody is looking to see what type of person that you are the minute you get in there. And the reason why I say they're not your friends is because you're really there to just do a job and that's it. The reality is when it comes to black men, not only do you barely have any friends in real life, barely, if any, you definitely don't have any in the workplace. And you may obviously meet somebody who may become your friend once you leave that workplace. But for the most part, while you're there, you do not have friends, and you need to assume that everybody you're working with is simply a coworker or somebody who you should just stay the hell away from. But anyway, the minute that you walk into the workplace, everybody is looking and observing to see how you are going to behave because you are a black man. And black men typically get pegged into two categories and possibly act in three different categories. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Black men typically get pegged into this category that I would call the eunuch category, and they also get pegged into this category that I would call the rebel category. Now, when I say that black men try to act in three different ones, there's the rebel and the eunuch category, and then there's this middle ground that I think a lot of black men try to act in as well too. So let me explain what I mean by that. Most people who you deal with in the workplace as a black man are trying to see if you're overly rebellious and if you're somebody who is very assertive, somebody who they deem as aggressive, or they're trying to see if you're somebody who they can make buck dance all day, somebody who's performative, somebody who is a pushover, somebody who they can do whatever they want to. Somebody who's going to be the gopher for whatever it is that they want you to do. So they're trying to see which one that you're going to be. Now, a lot of black men like to play that middle ground, which is they try to, they're assertive enough that they stand up for themselves, but they also aren't like they also kind of keep to themselves, to a certain extent. They're kind of, standoffish. They kind of do their own thing. And honestly, that is the best thing that I would tell black men to do. You have to be the individual who is going to be in the middle ground. So I would agree with those who actually take that route. Now, let me tell you why nobody is your friend. When you get in there, you get a lot of, I'll give you an example, white women. You got to be careful of them because a lot of times white women will be in there and they'll get real nosy. They like to know about your business, what you're doing. They like to, look you up on social media. That's another thing. When it comes to social media, don't tell nobody about your social media pages. Don't tell anybody about your social media sites. Don't tell anybody about try to add in them as a friend, like while you guys are working together. Don't do any of that type of stuff. Don't give them any type of idea that you're willing to add them on any type of social media, be it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever it may be. Because they're very nosy and they will look you up and they will try to use information against you. And that's something that's happened to me in multiple jobs before. So that's one thing that you have to be careful of, be mindful of. White men typically do what I'm about to say, but white women can also do this as well too. Microaggressions. That's another thing that you have to look out for on the job. A lot of times, white people will do microaggressions, and they'll do that too to black women as well, but they do it to black people. So what I'm basically saying is that you're going to have to deal with these different things regardless of what type of black person that you are, but black men have the extra layer of having other people who are just not their allies in general, even if they are black. So this is another thing that you need to understand too. When you're black, even black people who are of different cultures, so for example, as a foundation of Black American, if you go into a workplace, black immigrants, they're not your friends either, because a lot of times they like to be complicit to the ideals that that white society basically wants them to do. So they're going to go and they're going to side with them and do things before they try to help you or try to be an ally to you or try to have your back. So that's another thing. When it comes to black women, the ones that you especially have to watch out for are the ones that are a little bit on the older side. When I say the older side, I mean in that kind of 40 to maybe 60 range. You have to watch out for them more than any other black woman. And the reason why I say that is because typically black women who are not allies to you, there's two different types that exist. Now, there are some young ones that also too are not your allies as well too, but a lot of the ones that are young, they're usually these sapphires, for lack of better words, who will be put into basically high up position, or they'll be a desk manager or something like that, and they'll have a real stank attitude and that type of thing. So them, the best thing to do is to avoid them. But going back, the reason why you want to avoid black women who are between the ages of 40 and 60, I'm kind of ballparking it, is because a lot of times they like to do this thing that I would call mama-ing you. What they like to do is they like to treat you like you're their son, like you're a child to a certain extent, and they love to do it right in front of all these other white people who they're kind of doing because they're trying to exemplify that, you all white people, y'all can do that to him as well too. So they like to kind of treat you like a child, and you can always identify them because they'll come in, they kiss a lot of white ass, they don't challenge white people a whole lot. They'll be in there making them food and baking them cookies and doing all types of shit and bringing that to the workplace. So you'll be able to identify it that way. But those are who you have to look out for with that. When it comes to black men, we all are kind of in the same boat, knowing that we really don't know, we really don't see anybody as our friends. So just assume that they're doing their own thing and you're doing their own thing and you're doing your own thing. So don't try to make allies basically with anybody, because nobody is going to try to help you. Nobody is going to try to do anything to be on your side. So you need to see yourself as a one-man show, and you need to be on guard. Now, let's go back to this thing that I said about being right in the middle. So you definitely want to be somebody who is cordial. You don't want to be, weird to the point where you're so standoffish, people are talking because you're too standoffish. You don't want to be somebody also too who is just sharing all of your business and telling everything that's going on. And really that would go for anybody. I give that advice to anybody, but I'm giving it specifically to black men because if you say it, you will have it used against you. The other thing that you need to do when you're in there as black men is you need to start asking a bunch of questions. Don't make statements about who you are. Don't make statements about different things that are going on in your life, like too much. I'm talking about too much. Don't go in there basically trying to, give all this information about yourself. Make sure you ask questions about the things around you, the things that are happening, why things are happening, why this thing was done and that thing was done. That is exactly how you want to act when you go in there. And this is something that I learned from Neely Fuller Jr. I've talked about him before in the past, but he actually said the best thing that you can do is ask questions, especially when conflict arises. So that's the next thing I wanted to talk about as well too. When it comes to conflict, you want to avoid it at all costs as a black man. Avoid it literally at all costs. Don't try to start things. Don't try to get all angry and fussy with people and stuff like that. Don't do all that type of stuff. Keep to yourself. Do what you gotta do. Get your money. Get up out of there. When other people try to bring conflict your way, the best thing you can do is be assertive in what you know or how you feel about something, or address things in a very calm and an approachable way. So whenever you have an issue and you need to bring it to somebody, bring it to them in a non-confrontational way. If they're still very combative, if they're still very nasty, if they're still trying to attack you, even that conversation, document everything. Record if you have to, if you can in your state. But document every single thing that you hear, every single thing that someone says to you, every single thing that is nasty, every single thing that was demeaning to you. Make sure that you take all those things down, because you're going to need to take all that stuff and take it over to HR once you find that there's a lot of evidence to show that you're being treated in a way that doesn't help you to do the stuff that you need to do at work. And then even when you go to the human resources office, you want to go in there with a lot of professionalism. You want to go there and say, I believe that Susan is not providing an environment for me that is conducive for me to be able to be the most productive person in this workplace. And I want to be the future of this workplace, but I can't if every time that I'm trying to do something, Susan is trying to berate me and she's trying to, treat me as if I am a lesser individual in this organization. So you want to make sure that you're in there with some super professionalism as well too. You want to almost sound like you're code switching and sounding all nasally and stuff like that. But last thing I wanted to talk about too with that is you need to also be careful about, even as a middleman, when you're playing the middle, you also need to be careful about this thing that I feel a lot of white people do, especially white women, that they do, that I would call little broing. I don't care what nobody says. A lot of people like to act like race is not a factor here. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you have somebody who little bros you, they're trying to make the claim that you may or may not know something because of your age, because you're young. You may not understand this because you're young, or you maybe aren't handling things the way that you're not basically just taking anybody's bullshit because you're young. And then you get these labels like you're not being a team player and all this other stuff. The reason why I'm trying to bring all this stuff up is because that happens quite often, especially if you're a black man, you're dealing with a white woman who is older than you. And then other people around them, they'll be complicit. They'll play right along with it, and they'll be like, yeah, you need to be a team player, yada, 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 or they'll stay silent. That's literally how it always goes down. But the point that I'm trying to make though is that when it comes to little broing, what they do sometimes is they can't figure that black man out. He's not so rebellious where they're trying to get you up out of there, because if you're rebellious as a black man, they're going to try to get you up out of there quick. And what they're going to start doing is they're going to nitpick at every single thing that you do. And if you are, again, a eunuch, then they're just going to use you. They're just going to use you up and make you do things that compromise your morals, and things to the point where you just don't have morals or integrity anymore. You're just somebody who will just do all their tricks like a clown. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a middleman and they try to little bro you, what they'll literally try to do is figure you out to figure out what side of the fence they can push you on. So they want to see if, like, are you rebellious? Because if you're rebellious, they're going to try to get you up out of there. If you're a eunuch, then they're just going to use you like their slave. We're going to say that for lack of better words. So the reason why I brought up that whole age thing is because the reality is that anytime a white person makes a claim of you're young or whatever the case may be to you as a black person, if they are older than you, that is a race-based issue as a black man. That is racism, and I'm going to explain why. That is racism because essentially it goes back to that concept of how in the South they would call black men boys and things like that. And it also goes back to this idea that a black man is not a fully formed adult being, somebody who needs to be treated like a boy when they are dealing with white people. Like, you have the authority to show me that I have not matured enough into my manhood. So that's what they a lot of times like to do when they make claims of age and say that you're young and stuff like that, because then it goes back to intellect, it goes back to integrity, and then they're really trying to be impressionable on you. They want you to think these things about yourself. Maybe I'm not, a full-grown man, and I can let this white person talk to me any kind of way as a result. So never take that as an age claim. That is all. If you are a black man and somebody ever pulls the "oh, you're young," yada 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 thing, and they are white, that is racism. That is straight racism, and you need to treat it as such. So that's the next thing that I wanted to say. They'll little bro you, and they'll do this thing that I call the black infantile trope. They'll try to make you, they'll almost infantilize you to say you're almost an individual who hasn't conceptualized the maturity yet to be able to survive in this environment. And what they're really saying is you haven't embodied this image of the individual that we either can control or haven't been transparent enough with us to tell us about the type of rebel that you might be. And they'll try to get you up out of there. So you need to be very careful when you're in these environments, because a lot of times what ends up happening is they're trying to do everything they can to target you. And again, you have no friends when you're there. The other thing too with white women specifically is you want to be careful about the white women who flirt and the white women who may be kind of choosing a little bit. Really, anybody who's choosing is a problem, but you definitely want to be careful about them, because a lot of them will be quick to make claims of like rape and assault and things like that, and you definitely don't want to deal with any of that type of nonsense. Now, again, you don't want to do it with black women either, but you really, really don't want to do it with white women. So when you were at work, you need to see all of those relationships as platonic. You do not need to mix business with pleasure. As a black man, I highly discourage that, because you never know what could end up happening by you doing that. Now, if you are able to do it and you get away with it, consider yourself lucky that you were able to do that. But I think that it is a big danger zone to do that. Now, I would even go as far to say is stay away from even like compliments. Like, if you may say a platonic one here, that whatever, I wouldn't do that either, but I just would stay away from any type of compliments, even on the way somebody may look or present, even like the whole touching thing. I would stay away from all that. Anything that can literally get somebody to write something down on you and use it against you, you as a black man need to stay away from that. And you need to remember the mission as well too. The mission is for you to literally be in the workplace because you're trying to get your money so that you can take that and you can pour that into your creative projects. But outside of that, you have no other means to try to make friends and be all buddy-buddy with the individuals in your workplace who low-key are against you but will never admit it. Anyway, y'all, that was my video. I wanted to just make sure I put this out there for you. If you enjoyed it, like I said, do everything I said in the beginning. Like, share, subscribe, and all that in between. Let people know verbally, whatever it may be. But anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.